Asuo Yaa restores the broken link, harmonizing what has fallen apart. She is also a keeper of stories. Every libation poured, every sacrifice offered, every prayer whispered into her flow becomes a part of her memory. The elders say she remembers all. She carries the voices of ancestors, the vows of kings, the laments of mothers, and the chants of priests. Her current is a library, each ripple a page, each swirl an echo of lives that have come before. To sit by her waters is to feel history alive, breathing, unfolding around you. But perhaps her most profound role is that of mediator. Between the world of humans and the world of the spirits, she stands as an eternal bridge. When people wish to speak to the ancestors, they come to Asuo Yaa. When communities seek answers from the divine, it is through her they make their petitions. She is the oracle, her signs interpreted in rituals, her moods guiding decisions, her whispers carried in dreams. Thus, Asuo Yaa is not just river, shrine, healer, or oracle. She is all at once. A living temple flowing through the land. A divine presence woven into the very heartbeat of Akan identity. To dismiss her is to misunderstand the very rhythm of existence. For the Akan, life without Asuo Yaa would not simply mean the loss of water. It would mean the loss of memory, of healing, of communion with the ancestors. It would mean silence where there should be guidance, and emptiness where there should be spirit. And so, generation after generation, they approach her not as a resource, but as a sacred being, friend, mother, healer, and judge. For in her roles, Asuo Yaa sustains not only life, but meaning. Approaching the river. To approach Asuo Yaa is not a casual act. It is a passage, a crossing of words. Her waters are sacred, and so every step toward her banks must be deliberate, every gesture filled with reverence. The Akan people know that one does not simply arrive at the river as if visiting a friend's courtyard. The journey begins long before the first glimpse of her waters. Those who seek her must prepare, cleansing their bodies, calming their minds, and aligning their spirits. Purification is the first offering, for without it, the river will not hear your voice. Libations are poured before the first word is spoken. Palm wine, water, or schnapps trickle onto the earth, calling to the ancestors and opening the way. For the Akan understand that the living alone cannot petition the river, every prayer must pass through the unseen lineage of those who came before. The libation is both a greeting and a key, unlocking the ears of the spirits. Timing, too, is everything. The river has her moods, her rhythms, her cycles. A ritual performed in the dry season cannot be repeated in the rains. The moons dictate the ceremonies, each phase carrying a different spiritual resonance. To ignore such laws is not mere negligence, it is disrespect. The elders warn that a mistimed offering may silence the river, or worse, bring misfortune upon the careless. And so, the people approach her with offerings, calabashes of food, white cloth, beads, or the symbolic sacrifice of animals. Each gift is not a payment, but a gesture of harmony, a recognition that to take from the river one must also give. Her blessings are not purchased, they are invited, welcomed through reciprocity. These practices are not superstition. They are refined spiritual technologies, tested and perfected across generations. To the outsider they may seem elaborate, but to the Akan they are as essential as breathing. Just as a craftsman respects his tools, or a farmer honors the seasons, the people honor the sacred laws that govern their relationship with Asuo Yaa. For those who follow these paths, the river opens herself. She listens. She speaks. Her currents shift with meaning, her silence hums with presence. But for those who arrive unprepared, who treat her as mere water, she turns away. She becomes quiet, impenetrable, as if her soul retreats beneath the surface. Approaching Asuo Yaa, then, is a lesson in humility. It reminds the Akan that the sacred cannot be forced, only honored. It teaches patience, discipline, and the deep truth that harmony with the unseen requires respect, not demand. Thus, The procession to her waters is not simply a ritual, it is a rehearsal of life itself, moving carefully, offering what one can, listening deeply, and waiting for the unseen to respond. The river as pharmacy. Asuo Yaa is more than water flowing through land, she is medicine flowing through time. To the Akan, her banks are not merely fertile soil, they are a living pharmacy, where the remedies for body and spirit grow side by side. Herbalists know her secret places well. At dawn, when the misty clings to the grass, they walk quietly along her edges, guided by ancestral memory. They recognize the leaf that eases childbirth, the bark that reduces fever, the root that draws poison from a wound. None of these plants are chosen at random. Each one is tied to the river's own rhythms, nourished by her currents, infused with her unseen power. The healers understand that water is not neutral. Every drop carries character, every current a signature. In Asuo Yaa's case, her waters are known to soothe wounds, calm the spirit, and strengthen the weak. Women cleanse themselves in her pools for fertility, warriors wash their bodies before battle, and the sick immerse themselves in hopes of renewal. The river is not only a channel of hydration but a channel of vitality. But beyond the visible, there is the unseen. Asuo Yaa does not only heal through plants and minerals, she heals through vibration. The Akan believe that her waters hum with subtle frequencies, energies that modern science has barely begun to recognize. To sit by her flow is to feel her pulse entering your own, aligning what is scattered, quieting what is restless. Immersion in her waters is more than a bath. It is a diagnosis, a treatment, and a renewal. The river knows what is broken, and she adjusts her healing accordingly. For some, she cleanses grief that has clung too long to the heart. For others, she washes away lingering sickness. For children, she strengthens the bones, and for elders, she clears the spirit so they may walk lighter toward the ancestors. Herbalists and healers never take without asking. Before cutting a leaf or scooping water into a calabash, they pour libation, whisper prayers, and explain their purpose. For the plants and waters are not resources to be exploited, but gifts to be shared, gifts that demand respect. To modern eyes, these rituals might seem symbolic. But to the Akan, they are as real as the medicine itself. For it is not enough to take the herb, one must also invoke the spirit that animates it. Without that respect, the healing is incomplete, the cure unbalanced. Thus, Asuo Yaa is a river and a healer, a pharmacy and a priestess. She bridges the material and the spiritual, offering not only remedies for the body but also harmony for the soul. To step into her flow is to surrender to an ancient intelligence, one that sees beyond symptoms to the deeper fractures that cause them. She is the reminder that true healing is never just physical, it is always whole, always complete, always a renewal of body, mind, and spirit. Balance with nature. To the Akan, the river is not an object. It is not a resource to be measured in gallons or acres, nor a possession to be carved into property lines. It is a being, a presence, a partner. And like all living partners, it must be honored, respected, and protected. Asuo Yaa teaches her people a truth that many modern societies have forgotten: survival depends not on dominance, but on balance. To draw from her waters without gratitude is to break the covenant of life. To poison her streams is to poison the very blood of the community. To take without care is to invite scarcity. Thus, the Akan practice restraint, not because they lack the means to exploit, but because they understand the cost of excess. When they fish, they do not empty her depths. Nets are woven and cast with mindfulness, so that the small fish, the future of the river, are spared. When they farm along her banks, they leave space for the soil to breathe, for the wetlands to absorb, for the river to renew herself. Birds flutter across her marshes, and their presence is not incidental. They are signs, reminders that when Asuo Yaa flourishes, all life around her flourishes too. Frogs, insects, and fish form part of her song, each voice a note in her symphony of balance. The Akan do not see these creatures as nuisances to be controlled, but as companions in the eternal dance of life. The elders teach the young that every act has consequence. A careless hand that fells too many trees along the riverbank does not only harm the land, it silences birds, it erodes soil, it muddles the water, it weakens the community. A careless voice that mocks the river spirit does not only insult tradition, it severs the bond between people and their lifeblood. To the Akan, protecting Asuo Yaa is not just an environmental act, it is a spiritual duty. For the river is both physical sustenance and metaphysical guardian. Keeping her waters clean means more than health, it means harmony with the ancestors and alignment with the divine laws that govern existence. This ecological wisdom is woven into ritual and daily life alike. Before taking water, libation is poured. Before farming, prayers are spoken. Before fishing, thanks is given. These are not empty gestures, but acts of remembrance, binding the community to the truth that humanity does not own nature, it belongs within it. The people thrive only when the river thrives. The river thrives only when the people honor it. This is the covenant of balance, the sacred agreement between the seen and unseen. Asuo Yaa is not only a river. She is a teacher, reminding each generation that prosperity without balance is illusion, and that the true wealth of a people lies in the harmony they keep with the land that sustains them. A river under siege. But today, Asuo Yaa is under siege. Her song, once steady and eternal, now trembles under the weight of human negligence. The forests that once shielded her from the harshness of the sun are falling, tree by tree, to axes and fire. Where lush canopies once cooled her waters and nourished her flow, barren scars now stretch across her watershed. Each felled tree is not just the loss of shade, it is the silencing of a guardian, the breaking of an ancient covenant. Her veins, too, are poisoned. Factories, hidden in the folds of progress, release their waste into her currents. Plastics drift where fish once swam freely. Pipes drain her strength, bleeding her essence to feed growing cities that rarely pause to honor her spirit. The fish that once darted like silver sparks beneath her surface now float lifeless, their silence echoing louder than any prayer. Climate change adds its invisible hand to the assault. Rains no longer follow their sacred rhythm. The dry season lingers longer, the floods grow harsher. Her flow, once steady as a heartbeat, now falters and stumbles, reflecting the imbalance of the world itself. And yet the greatest tragedy is not only in her weakening body, but in the forgetting of her voice. Younger generations, drawn into the noise of modern life, risk losing the reverence their ancestors once held. What was once sacred becomes ordinary. What was once a teacher becomes a commodity. But the Akan know this truth: if the river weakens, so too do her people. For her waters are their lifeblood. Her spirit is their shield. To neglect her is to neglect themselves. To pollute her is to poison their own survival. Asuo Yaa is not separate from humanity's fate. Her suffering is a reflection, a mirror held to the face of those who have forgotten that balance is not a suggestion, it is survival itself. The eternal flow. And yet, despite the scars, Asuo Yaa endures. She adapts, she remembers, she continues. For rivers are not so easily silenced. Beneath the surface of pollution, beneath the noise of machines, beneath the scars of neglect, her ancient spirit still moves, whispering to those who are willing to pause and listen. At dawn, when the mist lifts and the first golden rays strike her waters, she speaks. She speaks through the ripples that stretch endlessly outward. She speaks through the calm reflection of trees, still standing in quiet defiance. She speaks through the dreams of elders, who carry her memory like fire carried through darkness. Her endurance is not passive. It is willful. Every child who sits at her banks and learns her stories is an heir to her strength. Every elder who pours libation, every healer who scoops her waters into a calabash, every singer who invokes her name in chant, these are acts of remembrance that keep her alive. They ensure that she does not flow as water alone, but as memory, as spirit, as life itself. Asuo Yaa's greatest teaching is eternal. Humanity and nature are not separate. We are not masters over rivers, forests, and skies, we are their children. To harm them is to harm ourselves. To heal them is to heal our own destiny. And so, the river remains both warning and promise. She reminds us that destruction is possible, but so too is renewal. For as long as her waters flow, there is hope. As long as her name is spoken, she endures. Asuo Yaa is not just a river. She is the embodiment of truth, that we are woven into the living fabric of the world. That when the river speaks, she does not speak for herself alone, she speaks for us all. And if we listen, truly listen, perhaps we will remember what our ancestors knew all along, that to honor the river is to honor life itself.